Prince Ryan stepped off the sleek starship onto the glowing surface of Zelura, feeling both awe and a hint of nervousness. The city stretched before him, a maze of crystal towers that shimmered in soft blues and purples. Light reflected off the smooth crystal streets, casting rainbow patterns across the traveler's path. It was unlike anything he had ever seen on Earth. Every corner of the city seemed alive, almost as if it had a heartbeat. He adjusted the strap of his satchel, carrying gifts for Queen Illura, the alien ruler of this distant world. Ryan had been chosen for this mission because of his calm nature and diplomacy. His kingdom hoped that a human ambassador could strengthen the fragile alliance between their world and Zelura. Ryan felt the weight of responsibility pressing on his shoulders, but beneath that weight, he was curious. He wanted to see this alien world with his own eyes and understand its people. The palace of Queen Illura was a magnificent sight. Its towers spiraled toward the sky like frozen fountains, each capped with a glowing crystal. A gentle hum of energy seemed to resonate from the structure itself, a sound that filled Ryan with a strange sense of peace. He had heard stories of Illura's wisdom and fairness, but now, standing at the palace gates, he wondered what kind of ruler she truly was. Ryan was greeted by the palace staff, small, delicate beings with translucent skin that shimmered in the light. They spoke in soft, melodic tones, guiding him through vast corridors lined with crystals that pulsed with color as he passed. It felt like walking inside a living gem. Despite his wonder, Ryan reminded himself to stay focused. This was a mission, not a sightseeing tour. Finally, he reached the throne room, where Queen Illura awaited. She sat on a crystalline throne, her posture elegant and calm. Her eyes were a deep shade of violet, and they seemed to hold both knowledge and kindness. She rose as he entered, her movements smooth and deliberate. "Welcome, Prince Ryan," she said, her voice warm yet commanding. "I have heard much about your journey and your kingdom." "Thank you, Your Majesty," Ryan replied, bowing respectfully. "It is an honor to be here." They spent the next hour in formal discussion, talking about trade, culture, and shared goals for their worlds. Illura's words were precise, but not cold. Ryan noticed the small gestures, how she tilted her head slightly when considering his words, how her eyes softened when he spoke about Earth's simple joys. There was a quiet depth to her, a sense that behind her leadership and power, there was a heart that cared deeply for her people. After the meeting, a palisade escorted Ryan to a private chamber where he could rest. He looked out of the window at the city below, fascinated by the way the crystal towers reflected the twin suns of Zelura. For a moment, he let himself forget about politics and alliances. He imagined walking among the glowing streets without a mission, just exploring, learning, and maybe, connecting with people here. As night fell, the palace began to change. Crystals along the corridors lit up in soft patterns, casting gentle light across the halls. Ryan felt as if the palace itself was alive, welcoming him. He realized that this world, with all its beauty and mystery, was unlike anything humans had ever imagined. That evening, while dining in a room filled with glowing crystal panels, Ryan heard a quiet voice behind him. It was Illura, who had chosen to join him outside of formal meetings. "I hope you are finding your stay comfortable," she said, her violet eyes meeting his. "It is, more incredible than I imagined," Ryan said honestly. "The city, the palace, everything is unlike anything I have seen." Illura smiled faintly, a gesture that seemed rare for someone of her stature. "I am glad you appreciate it. Many visitors see only the surface, but the heart of Zelura is in its people. They are our greatest treasure." Ryan nodded, feeling a strange warmth at her words. There was something about her, not just her wisdom, but the quiet way she spoke about her people, that made him want to learn more. He realized that this mission, which had begun as a duty to his kingdom, might also be the start of something more personal, something that could change the way he saw the universe. As the night deepened, Ryan stood by the window, watching the city shimmer under the twin moons. He thought about the days ahead, the conversations he would have, and the mysteries he would uncover. A spark of curiosity lit inside him, not just for Zilura, but for the queen who ruled it. Somewhere deep down, he felt that their paths were meant to cross, and that the story of this planet was just beginning. Little did he know, the next day would bring unexpected challenges and moments that would test courage, wisdom, and the connection forming between him and Queen Illyra. But for now, Prince Ryan allowed himself a quiet moment of wonder, standing at the edge of an alien world that shimmered like fire in crystal. The morning sun of Zilura rose slowly, casting golden light across the crystal towers. Prince Ryan awoke with a sense of excitement. Today was the Festival of Light, the most celebrated event on the planet. The streets of the city were alive with movement, filled with citizens dressed in flowing garments that shimmered like liquid crystal. Ryan could hear soft music carried on the wind, melodic and soothing, yet full of energy. He left the palace, guided by a young aide named Taelai. She was small, with delicate translucent wings that caught the sunlight and shimmered with rainbow colors. The festival is a very special time, Taelai explained as they walked. Crystals everywhere respond to emotions. They glow with the feelings of the people around them. It is a celebration of joy, hope, and connection. Ryan's eyes widened as he took in the streets. Crystals embedded in the walkways and walls pulsed softly, reflecting happiness, laughter, and excitement from the crowd. He saw children running with glowing ribbons, and families pausing to admire crystal sculptures that seemed to move slightly, as if alive. Zilura was alive in every sense, and the festival made the city feel magical. As they reached the main square, Ryan noticed a small child crying beside a fountain of light. Without hesitation, he knelt beside the child. "Are you lost?" he asked gently. The child nodded, tears shimmering in the sunlight. Ryan reached out and offered his hand. "Don't worry. I'll help you find your parents." The child grabbed his hand, and together they walked through the crowd. Ryan asked several adults if they knew where the child's family was. Finally, they found the child's mother near a crystal archway. Her eyes filled with gratitude as she hugged her child. "Thank you, stranger," she said. Ryan smiled and nodded. In that moment, he realized that heroism didn't always come in grand gestures. Sometimes, it was small acts of kindness that mattered the most. Later, he was led to a balcony where he could see the full spectacle of the festival. Crystals on the buildings pulsed in rhythm with the music, painting the sky with colors that shifted like liquid light. Queen Illyra appeared beside him, her presence calm yet commanding. Her violet eyes reflected the glow of the festival. "Do you like it?" she asked. Her voice was soft, almost blending with the music of the city. "It is breathtaking," Ryan replied honestly. "I have never seen anything so alive, so full of beauty." Illyra smiled faintly. "Zilura teaches us that emotions have power. The crystals only reflect what is already within us. That is why the festival is important. It reminds us to honor our feelings, to celebrate them, and to share them with others." Ryan nodded, absorbing her words. There was a wisdom in her voice that made him feel both calm and inspired. "Your people are amazing," he said. "I have never felt a city so connected, so full of life." Illyra's expression softened. "It is the people who make a city," not the crystals. But I am glad that you appreciate both. She paused and looked at him closely, as if studying his heart. It is rare for a visitor to truly see beyond the surface. They spent the day walking through the festival together. Ryan tried foods made from glowing fruits, which sparkled in the mouth and left a gentle warmth. Illyra showed him how to create small crystal patterns with his emotions, and he watched in amazement as the crystals responded instantly, forming shapes that reflected his happiness. Laughter filled the air as they experimented, creating patterns that twisted and turned, some resembling birds in flight, others like flowers blooming. By evening, the city was alive with fireworks that were reflected and amplified by the crystals, turning the sky into a canvas of light. Ryan felt a closeness to Illyra he had never expected. They spoke of their hopes for peace, the beauty of their worlds, and the strange ways life had brought them together. Each moment felt effortless, a blending of curiosity, admiration, and a quiet warmth neither could ignore. As the festival ended, Ryan stood beside Illyra, watching the last glowing patterns fade into the night sky. He realized that the trip, which had begun as a duty, had become something far more meaningful. In a city of crystals and light, he had found not only wonder, but a connection with someone who understood courage, responsibility, and the importance of kindness. Illyra turned to him with a faint smile. "Tomorrow brings challenges," she said. "But tonight, we celebrate." Ryan nodded, feeling a spark of hope in his chest. He knew that the festival was more than just light and beauty, it was a reflection of what could grow between them if they were brave enough to let it. And for the first time, he felt that he was exactly where he was meant to be. The next morning, Prince Ryan woke to the soft hum of crystals resonating through the palace walls. He felt energized, eager to explore more of Illyra. But before he could leave his chamber, an urgent call echoed through the halls. The crystal bells rang, a sound that signaled danger. Ryan followed the sound, his heart racing as he ran through the glowing corridors. Smoke curled from the throne room, a rare and alarming sight. Flames danced across the edges of delicate crystal panels, sending shards of sparkling light into the air. Palace staff rushed past him, carrying equipment and attempting to contain the fire. The normally calm hum of the palace was now a chaotic chorus of shouts and alarms. Queen Illyra was already at the scene, standing at the edge of the blaze, her expression controlled yet tense. She directed her aides and guards with precise commands, her voice calm despite the danger. Ryan could see the worry in her eyes. The fire was not only a threat to the palace but to the legacy of her people. Without hesitation, Ryan stepped forward. "Tell me what I can do to help," he said, determination in his voice. Illyra's violet eyes met his, and she nodded. "Use the containment crystals over there," she said, pointing to a set of large, glowing devices. "They can stabilize the panels and prevent the fire from spreading." Ryan grabbed the nearest crystal device and followed her instructions. The process required concentration and precision. One wrong move could make the flames worse. As he worked, he noticed how Illyra moved with practiced grace, touching the crystals lightly to guide their energy. Together, they formed a rhythm, coordinating actions without words, their teamwork instinctive. The heat was intense, but Ryan focused on the task, knowing that every second mattered. He admired Illyra's courage. Even in the midst of danger, she remained calm, guiding others and ensuring the safety of the palace staff. There was a strength in her that inspired him, a mix of wisdom, bravery, and compassion that went beyond leadership. Minutes passed like hours, and finally, the flames began to subside. The containment crystals glowed brighter as they absorbed the last traces of fire, stabilizing the delicate panels. Smoke lingered, but the palace was safe. Staff cheered quietly, relieved that disaster had been prevented. Illyria turned to Ryan, her expression softening for the first time that day. "You acted quickly and with courage," she said. "You helped save the palace, and perhaps even lives. I am grateful." Ryan felt a warmth in his chest. "I only did what I could. I couldn't stand by while everyone else risked themselves." For a moment, silence fell between them, the hum of the crystals filling the room. Ryan realized how much he admired Illyria not just as a queen, but as a person. And he felt a new closeness to her, a bond formed in the fire and in the calm after it. Later, after the fire was fully contained, Illyria led Ryan to a quiet chamber overlooking the palace gardens. The city outside shimmered under the late afternoon sun, and the twin moons were beginning to rise. She gestured for him to sit beside her. "Today showed me much about you," she said softly. "Bravery is not just in facing danger, it is in acting with care and understanding for others. You have shown both." Ryan smiled faintly. "And you led everyone with such calm." "I don't know how you do it." Illyria's smile was quiet but genuine. "Leadership requires courage, yes. But it also requires heart. Sometimes, the greatest strength is in knowing who to trust and when to act. Today, I saw that you understand both." They sat together, looking at the garden where crystals reflected the fading light. Ryan noticed a small, delicate flower blooming beside a glowing fountain, its petals catching the colors of the city. It reminded him of Illyria herself, strong, graceful, and quietly radiant. "I feel different here," he said, choosing his words carefully. "Like I'm learning more than just diplomacy. I'm learning about courage, hope, and connection." Illyria turned to him, her violet eyes holding a mixture of curiosity and understanding. "Connection is rare, especially across worlds," she said. "But perhaps it is also necessary. It can guide us in ways knowledge alone cannot." As the twin moons rose fully over the crystal city, a quiet peace settled over the palace. Ryan realized that this day, though filled with fear and danger, had also brought them closer together. Their bond had begun to form in the most unexpected way through fire, courage, and shared responsibility. Ryan left the chamber later that evening, walking through the quiet halls of the palace. He felt a new respect for the world around him, for the queen who ruled it, and for the connection that was beginning to grow between them. He knew that the days ahead would bring more challenges, but he also knew that, together, they could face anything. And somewhere in the quiet glow of the crystals, Ryan sensed that this bond born in courage and strengthened by trust was only the beginning of something extraordinary. The morning after the fire, the palace of Illyria felt different to Prince Ryan. The air was lighter, the crystals brighter, and the city outside seemed to sparkle with renewed energy. Ryan had spent the night thinking about Queen Illyria, the calm courage she had shown, the way she guided everyone during the crisis. He realized he was beginning to admire her not just as a queen, but as a person. Illyria greeted him in the palace garden, where crystal flowers swayed gently in the soft breeze. "Good morning, Prince Ryan," she said, her voice calm and welcoming. "Today, I thought you might like to see more of Illyria beyond the palace and its halls." Ryan smiled, eager to explore. "I would be honored," he said. They stepped onto the streets, which were already alive with merchants, citizens, and children playing with small glowing crystals. Illyria guided him to a nearby market, where fruits and foods from all over Illyria were displayed. She picked up a small, glowing fruit and handed it to Ryan. "Try this," she said. "It is sweet and warm, unlike anything you will find on Earth. Ryan bit into it and felt a burst of flavor that was both new and comforting. He laughed, delighting in the simple joy of the taste. "This is incredible," he said. "I never imagined something could feel alive in my mouth." Illyra smiled at his reaction. "Our fruits are like that. We value life in everything: food, crystals, even our buildings. Everything has a purpose, a story." They walked further, passing children who played with small crystal creatures that moved as if they were real animals. Ryan knelt to watch, fascinated by how the crystals responded to emotions and attention. Illyra explained how each crystal was trained to resonate with joy, kindness, and creativity. Ryan realized that Illyra's beauty came not just from technology or crystals, but from the care and thought her people put into everything they touched. As they moved through the city, Ryan asked questions about Illyra's life as a queen. "It must be difficult," he said, "to always be responsible for everyone, to make sure the city runs smoothly." Illyra nodded thoughtfully. "It is a challenge," she admitted. "But I do not face it alone. I have advisors, citizens, and sometimes, friends. Leadership requires courage, but it also requires trust in others. Today, for example, you proved the importance of trust and action." Ryan felt a warmth in his chest. He had never expected his actions during the fire to matter so personally. "I only did what I thought was right," he said quietly. "I wanted to help." Illyra looked at him with a faint smile, her violet eyes thoughtful. "And that is why courage is more than bravery. It is kindness in action, even when it is difficult." They stopped near a small crystal pond, where colorful fish swam beneath the glowing surface. Ryan watched the water ripple and reflected the city's light in patterns that seemed alive. Illyra sat beside him, her presence calm but comforting. "Sometimes," she said softly, "it is the small moments, not the grand events, that define us." Ryan nodded. "I see that now," he said. "After the fire, I realized that leadership is not just about power or decisions, it is about care, responsibility, and understanding. And I see that in you." Illyra turned to him, her expression softening. "It is rare to meet someone who notices these things," she said. "You have a perspective that is honest and thoughtful. It is a quality I admire." For a few moments, they simply sat together, watching the pond. The city hummed around them, alive but peaceful. Ryan felt a growing closeness to Illyra, a sense of trust and connection that surprised him. He realized that this journey, which had begun as a diplomatic mission, was now teaching him about friendship, respect, and the beginnings of something deeper. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the crystal city, Ryan and Illyra walked back toward the palace. Along the way, they laughed at small curiosities: a child trying to train a crystal bird, a merchant demonstrating glowing artwork. Their conversation flowed easily, and Ryan found himself sharing stories from Earth he had never told anyone. Illyra listened with genuine interest, occasionally offering quiet laughter or thoughtful questions. By the time they reached the palace, Ryan felt that something important had shifted. He had come as a prince, representing his kingdom, but he was leaving the streets of Illyra with admiration for its people and for the queen who ruled them with strength, wisdom, and kindness. Illyra turned to him at the palace gates. "Tomorrow brings new challenges," she said. "But today, you have seen the heart of Illyra." Ryan nodded, smiling. "And I have seen much more than I imagined," he said. "Thank you for showing me." As he watched her walk away, Ryan realized that their bond was growing not through duty, but through understanding, laughter, and shared moments. And somewhere deep inside, he knew that this connection was only the beginning of a story far greater than either of them could have imagined. The morning air in the palace felt heavy with tension. Prince Ryan noticed it immediately. Though the fire from a few days ago had been fully contained, whispers of a hidden threat spread quietly among the palace staff. Some citizens of Zilura were unhappy with the human-alien alliance, fearing changes to their traditions and customs. Ryan sensed that today would bring more than the usual duties of diplomacy. Queen Illyra summoned Ryan to her study, a large chamber lined with crystal shelves holding ancient texts and glowing artifacts. She was already there, reviewing documents, her violet eyes sharp and focused. "Ryan," she said, her voice steady, "there are signs that someone is trying to disrupt the alliance. Certain crystals have been tampered with. If we are not careful, it could endanger the peace talks." Ryan nodded. "How can I help?" he asked. Illyra handed him a small device that glowed faintly. "This will detect disturbances in the crystal networks," she explained. "We must investigate quietly, without alarming anyone. The people must not fear, or the unrest will grow." Together, they moved through the palace, testing crystals, checking rooms, and questioning staff in careful, indirect ways. Ryan admired Illyra's calm efficiency. Even in the presence of danger, she remained composed, directing their investigation with precision. He felt a growing admiration not only for her intelligence but also for the care she took in ensuring no one panicked. Their search led them to the lower levels of the palace, a section rarely visited by outsiders. The corridors were dim, and crystals embedded in the walls flickered as they passed. Ryan felt a thrill of excitement mixed with tension. This was more dangerous than he had expected. Illyra stopped suddenly, raising a hand. A section of crystal along the wall was slightly off color, faintly glowing in a pattern that indicated tampering. Ryan adjusted the device, confirming her suspicion. "Someone tried to manipulate this crystal," she said. "If left unchecked, it could disrupt the entire floor and put lives at risk." They worked together, stabilizing the crystal with a combination of skill and concentration. Their hands brushed briefly, sending a quiet warmth through Ryan. He caught a glimpse of Illyra's face, her expression focused yet gentle, and he realized how much he had come to trust her. This trust, born of necessity and teamwork, was something he had not expected to feel so quickly. After securing the crystal, they paused in a small chamber lined with glowing plants. Illyra looked at him, her violet eyes thoughtful. "Ryan, courage is not only about facing fire or danger," she said quietly. "It is also about perseverance, patience, and thinking carefully when consequences are great. Today, you have shown all of these qualities." Ryan felt a warmth in his chest. "I only did what was right," he said softly. "But I am learning from you, about leadership, care, and courage." They continued their search until evening, uncovering a small group attempting to destabilize the palace's crystal systems. Illyra's strategy was precise. She directed the guards in a way that captured the intruders without harm, maintaining order and protecting everyone involved. Ryan assisted wherever needed, his quick thinking complementing her calm planning. After the situation was fully resolved, they returned to the palace garden. The city outside glowed softly under the twin moons, crystals reflecting patterns of light that shifted with the gentle breeze. Ryan felt a mixture of relief and satisfaction. They had prevented a disaster and strengthened the peace between their worlds. Illyra turned to him, a faint smile on her lips. "You worked well today," she said. "I could not have managed this without you." Ryan shook his head. We worked together, he said. I only acted when you guided me. Without your wisdom, I would have made mistakes. They sat quietly for a moment, watching the city shimmer. Ryan felt his admiration for Illyra deepen. He realized that their bond was growing not just from shared challenges, but from trust, respect, and the understanding that they could rely on each other in difficult times. Illyra spoke softly, breaking the comfortable silence. Sometimes, the greatest threat is not the one we see, but the one we cannot predict. But facing it together makes even the unknown less frightening. Ryan nodded, feeling the truth in her words. He had come to Zilura expecting to serve as a diplomat, but he had found something far more valuable, a connection built on courage, understanding, and partnership. As they walked back to the palace, he realized that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them side by side, stronger together than apart. And in the quiet glow of the palace crystals, Ryan understood that this bond formed through adventure, trust, and shared responsibility was beginning to grow into something extraordinary, something that could last far beyond the dangers of today. The palace was quiet the morning after the threat had been resolved. Prince Ryan walked through the halls, feeling a sense of calm he had not known since arriving on Zilura. The crisis had tested his courage, his judgment, and his patience, but it had also brought him closer to Queen Illyra. Every time he thought of her, a warmth spread through his chest, a feeling he could not ignore. Illyra appeared in the garden, where the crystal flowers glimmered in soft morning light. She was tending to the plants, her movements graceful and precise. When she saw Ryan, her violet eyes lit up with a faint smile. "Good morning, Ryan," she said. "I thought we might take a walk before the day begins in earnest. There is much to discuss, but also time to reflect." Ryan nodded. "I would like that," he replied, feeling a flutter of anticipation. They walked together along the winding paths of the palace gardens. Crystals embedded in the ground reflected the sunlight, creating patterns that danced beneath their feet. For a while, neither spoke, enjoying the quiet rhythm of the city and the soft hum of energy that flowed through the palace. Finally, Illyra broke the silence. "You have done much more than your duty," she said, her voice gentle. "Your courage and care have helped protect not just the palace, but our people." Ryan felt his cheeks warm. "I only acted because it was necessary," he said. "But, your guidance made all the difference. I could not have done it alone." Illyra stopped beside a small fountain, where water flowed over crystal edges in delicate patterns. She looked at him, her expression serious yet tender. "Ryan, there is something I must say. I have observed you since your arrival. You are brave, thoughtful, and kind. And, you have brought something unexpected to my life, a sense of joy I did not know I needed." Ryan's heart skipped a beat. He had felt a connection growing, but hearing her words made it real. "Illyra. I feel the same," he said softly. "I came here to serve my kingdom, but I never expected to care for someone like this. To care for you." A faint smile spread across her face. "Then perhaps it is time to acknowledge it," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "We have faced fire, danger, and uncertainty together. Through it all, I have come to trust and admire you more than I can describe." Ryan stepped closer, the crystal light reflecting in his eyes. "I admire you too," he said. "Your courage, your wisdom, your care for your people, it inspires me. I have never met anyone like you." For a moment, silence surrounded them, the soft hum of the palace filling the space. The twin moons were beginning to rise, casting gentle light over the gardens. Ryan and Illyra stood together, understanding without words that their bond had grown beyond duty and respect. It was trust, admiration, and the beginnings of something far deeper. Illyra reached out and lightly touched Ryan's hand. The connection was simple, yet it carried the weight of all they had experienced together. "Perhaps," she said, "our partnership is more than alliances and responsibilities. Perhaps it is also about understanding and care, about companionship." Ryan nodded, feeling a warmth he had never felt before. "Yes," he said. "And I want to be there with you not just as a diplomat or ally, but as someone who supports and respects you, always." Illyra's eyes softened. "Then let us promise to face whatever comes together," she said. "Not just the challenges, but the joys, the lessons, and the moments we do not yet know exist." They stood side by side, looking out at the crystal city that glowed in the moonlight. For the first time, Ryan felt that he belonged not just on Zilura, but beside Illyra. The connection they had built through fire, danger, and shared experiences had transformed into trust, understanding, and love. As the evening deepened, they walked slowly through the gardens, sharing stories, laughter, and quiet glances. Their conversation was simple, yet it carried a depth that spoke of hearts slowly opening to each other. The city shimmered around them, reflecting the warmth and hope that had begun to grow between two very different worlds. By the time they returned to the palace, Ryan felt a certainty he had never known. This bond, born in courage and strengthened by trust, had become something extraordinary. And in the quiet glow of Zilura's crystals, he realized that love, gentle, strong, and patient, could grow even amidst the responsibilities of leadership. For the first time since his arrival, Ryan allowed himself to believe that perhaps this journey, which had begun as a mission for duty, could also be a journey of the heart, a journey shared with Illyra, under the shimmering light of a world unlike any other. The first light of Zilura's twin suns spilled across the crystal city, turning every tower and street into a glittering mosaic of color. Prince Ryan stood on the balcony of the palace, looking out over the city with a sense of peace he had never felt before. Beside him, Queen Illyra's presence was calm, radiant, and steady, the same presence that had guided him, challenged him, and now inspired him in ways he had never imagined. "Look at it," Illyra said softly, her violet eyes reflecting the sun's light. "Our city, our people, everything we work to protect." Ryan nodded, feeling a mixture of pride and awe. "It's beautiful," he said. "But more than that, it feels alive. The way your people care for it, the way you care for them, it's inspiring." Illyra glanced at him, a faint smile touching her lips. "And you've become a part of it," she said. "Not just in the city, but in my life, and perhaps even in the story of our worlds." Ryan's chest warmed. The last weeks had been full of challenges, from the fire in the throne room to the hidden threats in the palace. Yet through it all, he and Illyra had grown closer. Their bond had been tested and strengthened, not by easy victories, but by the courage, trust, and understanding they shared. "Do you think," Ryan began carefully, "that this connection between our worlds, and between us, can last?" Illyra turned to him fully, her expression tender. "I do," she said. "Because it is built on more than diplomacy. It is built on respect, care, and a willingness to face challenges together. That is what makes it real, and what makes it strong." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the city awake. Citizens began their day, walking through streets filled with glowing crystals and vibrant life. Traders opened their stalls, children laughed as crystal creatures moved alongside them, and the hum of energy resonated through the city like a heartbeat. Ryan realized that this world, with all its beauty and complexity, had become more than a mission, it had become a part of him. Illyra, he said softly, I never expected to feel this way when I came here. I thought my journey would be only duty, only responsibility. But now, I know it is also about hope, trust, and you. Illyra's smile deepened, her eyes reflecting the sun's glow. And you, Ryan, have taught me much as well. Courage, kindness, and the value of seeing beyond the surface. You've reminded me that even in leadership, there is room for connection and care. He took her hand gently, and she allowed him to hold it. The warmth of their touch was simple, yet full of meaning, a silent promise that they would face the future together. The bond they shared had grown from curiosity to admiration, from trust to understanding, and now to a quiet love that did not need grand declarations. Whatever comes next, Ryan said, we face it together. Not just for our worlds, but for the people who believe in us. Illyra nodded, squeezing his hand lightly. Yes. And together, we will make sure that our people, our alliance, and this city continue to thrive. Our bond is part of that strength. As the twin suns rose higher, the palace seemed to glow brighter, the crystals reflecting their light in patterns that shifted like waves on water. The city's energy was harmonious, alive with the sense of hope and possibility. Ryan felt that same harmony within himself, a balance between duty and heart, courage and care, ambition and compassion. They walked back into the palace, side by side, ready to greet the day, ready to face whatever challenges might come, and ready to build a future together. The throne room, once scarred by fire, now shone with renewed light, a symbol of resilience and strength. It was a reminder that even in the face of danger and uncertainty, hope, unity, and connection could prevail. Later, standing together on the balcony as evening approached, they watched the city glow in the soft colors of sunset. Crystals shimmered gently, reflecting both light and emotion. Ryan and Illyra knew that this was not just the end of one story, but the beginning of another, one filled with partnership, shared responsibility, and a bond that had been tested, strengthened, and had grown into something extraordinary. And so, under the shimmering light of Illyra's crystal city, Prince Ryan and Queen Illyra stood together, not only as leaders of their worlds but as companions, friends, and partners. Their journey had been marked by courage, trust, and understanding, and now, a quiet, enduring love. The city glowed brighter than ever, a symbol of unity, hope, and the fire that had once threatened the palace but had ultimately brought two hearts together. In that moment, they knew the future would be theirs to shape together, strong, and full of light.